Some stories are born in silence, while others are born in pain. Mine began on a night when fear sat beside me like a shadow, and I did not yet know that my life was already changing. What you are about to read is not just a story. It is a journey of faith, loss, courage, and truth. As you read, I want you to feel every step, every tear, and every quiet hope that kept me alive. Before you continue, please share in the comments where you are watching or reading from. Let us connect as one family across nations and remember each other in prayer. My name is Amina Noor, and in the year 2016, I was 14 years old. I lived inside a palace that many people dreamed of seeing just once. Tall white walls surrounded us. Guards stood at every gate. Gold decorations filled the rooms. From the outside, my life looked safe, rich, and perfect. Inside my heart, it was very different. I was born into a powerful Muslim Arab royal family. From my earliest days, my life followed strict rules. I woke up at fixed times. I dressed in clothes chosen for me. I learned what to say, how to walk, and when to lower my eyes. Obedience was not just expected, it was demanded. Faith was the center of everything. I was taught prayers, traditions, and laws before I could fully understand them. I followed them carefully, not because I fully understood, but because fear lived close to discipline. Fear of punishment, fear of shame, fear of disappointing my family. The palace was quiet but heavy. Long hallways echoed with footsteps. Every sound felt watched. Servants moved quickly and spoke softly. Smiles were careful, laughter was rare. Love existed, but it was controlled, measured, and often hidden behind duty. As a princess, I was told my life belonged to the family name. My future had already been planned. Education was allowed, but only what was approved. Friendship was limited. Freedom was a word I heard but never touched. Even at 14, I understood one truth clearly. Questions were dangerous. Sometimes, while sitting alone by a high window, I watched birds fly freely across the sky. They went wherever they wanted, without guards or rules. In those moments, something inside me felt tight, like a quiet cry I did not know how to release. I began to feel an emptiness that prayers did not fill. I performed every duty, bowed at every required time, and memorized every teaching. Still, my heart remained restless. I felt guilty for feeling this way. I believed something was wrong with me. At night, fear often kept me awake. Not fear of strangers, but fear of my own thoughts. I wondered why love felt distant. I wondered why God felt far. I wondered why my heart longed for peace instead of pressure. In the palace, punishment did not always come with shouting. Sometimes it came with silence, a look of disappointment, a door closed, a privilege taken away. These quiet forms of persecution trained us to obey without resistance. I saw it happen to others. A cousin who questioned traditions was sent away. A servant who showed curiosity toward forbidden ideas disappeared from the palace. No one explained where they went. No one asked. These moments taught me to hide my thoughts deeply. As a girl, my body and future were closely controlled. I was reminded often that my value rested in honor, obedience, and silence. Any mistake would bring shame not only to me but to generations before me. This weight pressed on my chest every day. Sometimes I felt like I was living someone else's life. I remember one afternoon clearly. The sun burned brightly, but I felt cold inside. I had just finished my studies when I overheard elders discussing discipline for someone accused of leaving the faith. Their voices were firm, their tone carried no mercy. That moment planted fear deep inside me. I realized then that faith in my world was enforced by consequence. Love was spoken of, but fear ruled behavior. That night, I cried quietly into my pillow, careful not to make a sound. Tears soaked the fabric as confusion and fear wrestled inside me. I did not yet know Jesus. I did not yet understand truth. But my heart was already searching. This was only the beginning. The palace that raised me would soon become the place where my greatest pain was formed. The faith I inherited would soon be questioned by an encounter I never expected, and the persecution I feared would become my reality. Before light would come, darkness had to speak first, and it spoke loudly in my life. Fear does not always scream. Sometimes it whispers until it becomes louder than your own heartbeat. What happened next in my life began with questions I was never meant to think, and pain I was never meant to survive. I was still 14 years old, and the palace no longer felt like a home. It felt like a cage with soft floors and hard rules. Every day looked the same, but inside me something was changing. My heart was becoming heavy, and my thoughts were no longer quiet. I began to notice how closely I was watched. My steps were counted. My phone use was checked. My books were examined. Even my silence was observed. It felt like everyone was waiting for me to fail. I tried harder to obey. I prayed more. I fasted more. I followed rules more carefully. Still, peace did not come. Instead, fear grew stronger. Fear of being discovered. Fear of being accused. Fear of punishment. Sometimes during lessons, my mind drifted away. I stared at the floor while teachers spoke about faith and duty. They explained belief as law, not love. Obedience mattered more than understanding. I felt small, like my thoughts did not belong to me. One day, a simple question slipped into my heart. It was not spoken. It was only felt. I wondered why faith needed so much force to survive. That single thought terrified me. From that moment, pressure increased. My behavior was corrected more often. My expressions were questioned. I was warned about disgrace and shame. Elders reminded me that leaving the faith meant losing everything. They showed me examples of people who disappeared after being suspected. Their names were erased. Their stories were buried. This was persecution without chains, but it hurt deeply. At home, I was isolated more. I was not allowed to sit freely with others. Conversations stopped when I entered a room. Meals became silent. My presence felt unwanted, like a problem that needed fixing. One evening, my personal belongings were searched. They did not find anything forbidden, but the message was clear. I was not trusted. That night, I cried alone again, pressing my face into my hands so no one would hear. I began to feel like my thoughts were crimes. Sleep became difficult. Fear followed me into my dreams. I often woke up shaking, imagining myself dragged away, punished, or disowned. I had seen what happened to girls who stepped outside the rules. They lost protection, they lost family, some lost their lives. This knowledge crushed me. I felt trapped between my heart and my survival. I wanted truth, but truth felt dangerous. I wanted peace, but peace felt forbidden. Every day was a battle between silence and fear. The worst part was loneliness. I had no one to talk to, no one to trust, no one to explain the storm inside me. I learned how to smile while breaking inside. I learned how to nod while my heart screamed. Persecution does not always come with violence at first. Sometimes it comes with control, isolation, fear, emotional pressure. It slowly takes away your strength until you forget who you are. I started to believe that I was wrong for wanting more. But deep inside, something refused to die. Even while fear pressed on me, hope began to quietly grow. I did not yet know its name. I did not yet understand its source, but it felt gentle, unlike the harsh world around me. This chapter of my life taught me that persecution begins long before chains or blows. It begins when a person is not allowed to think, feel, or seek truth. And my suffering was only beginning. Because soon, the questions I hid would lead me to an encounter that would change everything. And the persecution that followed would test my life itself. What happened next came quietly, but it shook my life harder than any punishment I had ever feared. It happened on a night when I felt completely alone, and I believed no one could see me anymore. By this time, my heart was tired. Fear had drained my strength. I was still living in the palace, but I felt invisible and trapped. Every day felt heavy. Every rule felt tighter. I had reached a point where I no longer expected happiness. I only wanted peace. That night, I could not sleep. The room felt cold, even though the air was warm. I sat on my bed, holding my knees, breathing slowly so no one would hear me. My heart felt like it was breaking into small pieces. I did not pray the way I was taught anymore. I simply cried inside. I asked for help without knowing who would answer. I felt weak, confused, and afraid of the future. Then something changed. The room felt different, like fear slowly stepped back. I sensed a presence that did not bring pressure or control. It brought calm. My heart stopped racing. My breathing became soft. I became aware of Jesus, not through noise or force, but through peace. He revealed himself to me in a way I could understand. He showed me love without fear. He showed me acceptance without conditions. He showed me that I was seen, known, and valued. I did not hear spoken words. Instead, understanding filled my heart. I understood that he loved me deeply. I understood that I did not need to earn his care. I understood that truth was gentle, not cruel. Tears flowed down my face. But this time, they were not from pain. They were from relief. For the first time in my life, my heart felt safe. In that moment, I felt something lift off me. Fear loosened its grip. Shame faded. I felt light, like a heavy load had been removed from my chest. Jesus showed me that following him would not be easy. He made me understand that choosing truth would bring suffering. He showed me that persecution would come, not because I was bad, but because light challenges darkness. Even with that warning, peace remained. That night marked a turning point. I knew my life would never be the same. I did not suddenly become brave, but I became certain. I knew who had touched my heart. The next days were dangerous. I became more careful, but people noticed changes. My fear reactions softened. My eyes looked calmer. My silence became different. This raised suspicion. The pressure increased quickly. I was questioned more often. I was watched more closely. I was warned about consequences again and again. My movements were limited. I was no longer allowed private time. This was persecution growing teeth. They did not know about my encounter, but they sensed a shift. Authority does not like change. It cannot control. The love I carried inside me threatened the system around me. Inside, I held on to what Jesus showed me. I remembered the peace. I remembered the love. I remembered that I was not alone. Persecution began to press harder, but now I had something stronger than fear. I had truth living quietly in my heart, and soon that truth would cost me more than I ever imagined. Some choices save your soul but break your world. What I faced next was the price of light in a place that loved darkness, and it nearly destroyed me. After the night Jesus revealed himself to me, I tried to live quietly. I hid my faith deep inside my heart. I avoided attention. I obeyed rules. But truth has a way of showing itself, even when spoken in silence. People around me sensed change. My eyes no longer carried the same fear. My reactions were calmer. I did not bow in my heart the way I once did. This difference made them uncomfortable. Control depends on fear, and fear was losing its hold on me. The persecution became open. I was called in for questioning many times. Elders examined my behavior closely. They told me I was becoming rebellious. They warned me of serious punishment. They showed me examples of others who chose differently and suffered greatly. My freedom was taken away completely. I was locked indoors for long hours. My phone was removed. Books were taken. I was watched day and night. Silence was used as a weapon. No one spoke kindly to me anymore. Even family members avoided my eyes. This rejection hurt more than any physical pain. At times, food was withheld to weaken my will. Sleep was interrupted. I was forced to kneel for long periods as correction. My body grew tired, but my heart held on. They wanted me to break. They told me that choosing Christ meant losing my family forever. They made me understand that I could be disowned, imprisoned, or worse. They reminded me that girls like me had no protection outside the system. Fear returned, but it did not rule me. In the darkest moments, I remembered what Jesus showed me. I remembered his peace. I remembered his love. I remembered that suffering for truth did not mean abandonment. I lost my title. I lost comfort. I lost safety. But I did not lose hope. Eventually, arrangements were made to remove me quietly from the palace. I was sent away under watch, separated from everything I knew. I left without goodbye. I left without protection. I left with only faith in my heart. Persecution did not end there. Outside the palace, life was harsh. I faced hunger. I faced threats. I faced loneliness. Some people rejected me when they learned my choice. Others tried to force me back, but Jesus stayed with me. He strengthened me in weakness. He comforted me in fear. He showed me that suffering for him was not shameful, but meaningful. Today I share this story so the world will know that faith can cost everything. Many believers suffer in silence. Many are beaten, rejected, imprisoned, or killed for choosing Christ. If you are a Christian reading this, I encourage you to pray earnestly for those who are persecuted for their faith. Pray for strength. Pray for protection. Pray that they will not feel alone. And if you are reading this and feel a call in your heart to turn away from sin and turn toward Jesus, know that he is ready to receive you. You can speak to him simply from your heart, asking for forgiveness, surrendering your life to him, and trusting him as your Savior and Lord. He hears sincere hearts, even when words are simple. My story began in fear, passed through suffering, and found hope in Christ. and if he could carry me through persecution, he can carry you too.